Quick and easy, how to get your website online and begin making money. If you're new to online marketing and you are getting ready to launch your first real website, you need to know the following, very timely information about web hosting. In the next few minutes you'll learn how to choose a sensible web hosting plan and what to avoid, how to host multiple sites on one account, how to know the right time to upgrade to so-called reseller hosting, the best hosting control panel for internet marketers. In my opinion, why a blogging platform may be your best way to get started and which platform to use. My first website was really lame and I had no clue what I was doing. I blundered through the process, wasting a lot of time but learning a bit in the process. Over the last few years I've learned a lot about webmastering. For me, web hosting and webmastering is a means to an end, not a career. Knowing how to manage my own web hosting empowers me to try new things as a marketer and adapt rapidly to changes in the marketplace. I also save lots of money because I don't have to pay someone to work on any of my sites. I am the one in control, and so will you when you manage your own websites. These days, it's a lot easier to be your own webmaster than it was only a few years ago. The whole process of setting up and managing websites is much more user-friendly today. With a little patience, you can learn to put up eye-popping websites in record time. You'll have the ability to get an idea for a new site and have it up and getting traffic within 1 hour. No kidding, control panels matter, especially if you're a beginner. One of the things that baffled me most of all was web hosting. I was on a Plesk host when I first started. To this day, I want nothing to do with Plesk. I found it dreadfully confusing. When I discovered cPanel, hosting things got a lot easier. cPanel has improved since I started using it too. Now it has tutorials embedded inside it that help you as you go along. I'll recommend a reliable cPanel host, the one I rely on, at the end of this lesson. You can save a few bucks by using non-cPanel hosts, but I don't recommend cutting corners. When you choose a cPanel host, you're choosing a standard that has earned a preferred position of preeminence among internet marketers. Basic hosting, starting a website means different things to different people. If you work for a billion-dollar company, your budget may be in the millions and there will be a small army of developers, writers, strategists, and coders involved in the project, plus some management types there to take credit/shift blame and basically pee on the project to mark their territory. But if you're like Joe Average who wants to make some money on the internet, you can launch a website for less than the price of a night out, $20 or so. To start your internet empire with just one website or blog, which is fine. You don't need to invest much in hosting. Less than $10 per month gets a nice plan for one website. Dedicated hosting is probably more than you need. If you're starting a site with heavy bandwidth requirements, dedicated hosting may be necessary, but often shared hosting, which is very cheap, is adequate and works fine. As your needs grow, you might go from basic hosting to reseller hosting to dedicated hosting. If you think you need dedicated hosting or a private server for your websites, you'll want to get some specific education that goes way beyond the scope of this article. Multi-site hosting. You can usually run more than one site on any hosting plan, but there's an awkwardness to running more than one site on a basic hosting account. Basically, you would have to set up each site as a subdomain. Thus you would have site1/yourdomain.com and site2 and so forth. You can also do it like this, yourdomain.com/site1, which is making your site a subfolder of your top-level domain. I use domain subfolders all the time, creating a subfolder for each product I sell on a site, for example. It's not a bad practice at all, but things can get out confusing to manage once you have more than a few sites running as subdomains or subfolders. As your empire building progresses, you'll acquire numerous URLs, which are registered domain names you own. They generally cost about $10 a year, so you can afford to have a few, and owning more than one has advantages I'll explain later. When to choose reseller hosting, the next step above basic hosting is to get a so-called reseller account. It's called that because you can resell hosting space to anybody you like and set them up with their own control panel. Doing this is a cool way to make some money or cover your hosting costs, but unless you really want to get into the webmaster and support business, which isn't a bad thing but could suck your energy away from a business you'd prefer, Be selective about who you sell hosting space to. If you do sell hosting space on a small-time basis, you'll want clients with minimal support needs who just need a site that's reliable. This way you get paid every month and don't have to do much to earn it. You could also sell the hosting/support plan for top dollar, with the value to the customer being in the support. If you're doing web design or some sort of web consulting work, you might want to include hosting in the packages you offer to clients. Doing so may help clients put off discontinuing your services, because if they do, they'll have to cope with moving their hosting, which is no big deal, but your clients won't know that. Little hooks like this is good business strategy because they help you keep your customers in a buying cycle with you. The best reason to choose reseller hosting: many website owners use reseller hosting for their own websites, but don't resell space at all. When you choose reseller hosting, you benefit because it simplifies the running of more than a couple of websites enormously. Because with reseller hosting you can create a new control panel for as many hosting accounts as you want. You'll be able to put every domain you own on a separate account. The first benefit is this makes site management a cleaner process with fewer files on each hosting account, which saves time. You probably already know your time is your most precious resource in building an internet business. There are time thieves everywhere trying to suck it away from you. Even if you are disciplined about not doing obvious time wasters like watching a lot of YouTube videos of stupid pet tricks, your own working methods can be time inefficient, and when they are, your progress will be slower. The main reason I recommend using reseller hosting for a serious internet business is the separation of sites into individual control panels. Mostly because it saves lots of time. If you've ever spent an hour combing your hard drive looking for a misplaced file, you know how frustrating it can be. Just as being organized with the files on your hard drive saves you time, using separate control panels for each domain you own does as well. Other benefits become more obvious as you learn a little more about webmastering. Some PHP scripts, which are programs that run on a hosting account, can conflict with each other if they are on the same account, but if put on separate control panels, they don't. A blog may be your best choice for website number one, and why it's also the easiest. When I got started, I didn't even know what a blog was. My first websites were very ugly things coded in plain HTML. Real ugly and labor-intensive as well. These days, WordPress is perhaps the best platform to start most websites with for the serious beginner. In relation to its power and flexibility, WordPress is easy to learn. With most cPanel hosting, you get a feature called Fantastico, which can be used to create a WordPress site in about 2 minutes. Fantastico won't install the very latest version of WordPress, but since WordPress has an auto-upgrade feature, you can install it from your cPanel using Fantastico, and then log into your WordPress site as an administrator, and just click the upgrade link to upgrade to the latest version. As of today, the latest version of WordPress is 3.0.1. Version 3.0 was a watershed upgrade to WordPress that marked its real maturity, and that's part of why I've gone from being skeptical of WordPress to recommending it wholeheartedly. WordPress is robust, flexible, and easy to learn. It isn't the right system for every website, but it's a powerful, widely used, amply supported tool that can grow with you, enhancing your site's core functions. The WordPress core script is a blogging program. By adding other features, called plugins, you can modify it to do a huge variety of tricks. I am currently running about 20 plugins on the WordPress site I experiment with the most, and I've tried probably 40 or 60 and researched dozens more. In subsequent articles, I'll tell you about every single plugin I recommend and why, so stay tuned. In the meantime, if you're ready to get started with WordPress, you'll need to get a hosting account and a domain name. Domains registrars are all pretty similar. I use GoDaddy mostly, but the hosting service I recommend you use is HostGator. I've used them for years, and the features are excellent, support is stellar, and the value you get is superb.